In a week in wrestling where the OTC has returned, or OTC 1 has returned, Cena and Cody make SummerSlam official. AEW embark on their Hangman Adam Page era. TNA are just about to go on live from historic and, quite frankly, phenomenal Slammiversary. And NWA will soon have a new streaming home. We're going to attempt to cover all of this off on Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast with obviously me, your host Adam Cousins, and he's back. There he is, cap on, everything there. The problem child still reigns supreme on this channel, Mr. David Robinson. Evening, Dave.
Hello, mate. How are you doing?
We're all good, man. We are all good. It's always have a lot to talk about when we do these weeks in wrestling. It never ceases to amaze me the amount of stuff I bullet point or write down on a bit of paper, ready for having this conversation with you. But it's been a couple of weeks, but we're not going to go back. We're just going to concentrate on the here and now. I will actually start with WWE. I'm going to start and finish with a WWE, which I think is the wisest move. And the return this week of the OTC to Raw coming out, helping Jey Uso, helping CM Punk in a way. To CM Punk obviously going to be main event in SummerSlam, one of the nights of SummerSlam this year against Gunther. But question I pose about Roman David is, look, he disappears and reappears more times than you can say Joe Hendry's name, and it has the aura of Roman Reigns gone now, where we were a couple of years ago. It was must watch Roman coming out, Bloodline. Every time that music hits, we would be looking forward to it. Is it now stale? Or what do you make of Roman? Has he lost his aura now in wrestling?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think the crowd popped pretty well for him. They did seem to be expecting it. Um, I'm not sure. I think Roman's like one of the top stars still. I think we'd like to see a bit more of him. As you say, he goes away a lot, comes back a lot. And I suppose with every time you do that, like Jericho,
Mm.
it kind of loses a little bit of the special, big return moment. Um, I thought the exchange with Punk was interesting
Yeah.
because, as you say, he kind of helped him, but it didn't help him to his feet.
No.
Um, but yeah, I'm glad to see Roman back and see how he's going to be involved going into SummerSlam. I think they're kind of wheeling out all the some of the big SummerSlam's always a big deal, but
Mm.
it's the first time it's a two-night event, isn't it?
Yeah.
So for the first, so they're kind of similar to what they've done with WrestleMania in terms of making it a two-night event. I don't think it's a one-off either. I think that's the plan moving forward with
It is.
SummerSlam, that it will
Yeah.
always be a two-night event. So
Yeah.
yeah, in many ways, not surprised to see Roman back given the magnitude of that show.
Yeah, me too. Obviously, they're always needed for the big events. Now, something going on at SummerSlam. I mean, obviously, look, Cardi B's hosting. We know that shit already. M more celebrity involvement. Drew McIntyre is teaming with Logan Paul to go against a team of Randy Orton and Jelly Roll. I think I got his name right. I have no idea who the hell this guy is. Um, I get to a point now where I think, well, I now think this is kind of where the WWE is now with this whole TKO stuff. It is all about bringing more people in from the stars in from the outside. And Cardi B said she'd be up for wrestling on the show, and for me, I don't like it. It grinds my gears enough when people like Floyd Mayweather come in. He beat the Big Show at WrestleMania, if you remember, a good few
Yeah.
years ago now. But where do you stand on this? I hate the fact that they're bringing in more and more people. Travis Scott, prime example of this, and they're getting them in the ring. And not only are they doing that, but they're beating the guys that they're going in the ring against. For me personally, I hate that thought. Where does your ground lie on that one?
Um, I suppose I don't hate it. It's something that I expect from the WWE in many ways. They've
Mm,
always done it, haven't they? Particularly since the WrestleMania era of WWF and
yeah.
the involvement of the likes of Mr. T, Cyndi Lauper, you know, um, number Lawrence Taylor, wasn't it?
Yeah,
American
yeah. Bam Bam
Football.
Bigelow. Yeah.
And then even WCW, they use Rodman, and
Yeah,
so it's always been there. But there just seems to be a little bit too much of it. I
yeah.
think less is more. I think it's more impactful when it is, I think a good one they did a couple of years ago was the Spanish guy,
Bad Bunny, Puerto Rico.
Bad Bunny. Yeah, I thought that Puerto Rico, and given the fact like they used him in Puerto Rico as well.
Hmm.
I actually liked that one, and I'm like you. I don't massively. I'm not a huge fan of it. I do know who Jelly Roll is. I actually quite like some of his music, actually. Whereas regards to Travis Scott, still not really sure who he is. But yeah, I am familiar with Jelly Roll, and he's lost a hell of a lot of weight. I
Two
noticed
hundred
reference
pounds, I
on
think.
the show. Yeah, yeah, he looks like a different person. Um, Logan Paul, I mean, he's the crossover star, isn't he? He
Yeah,
is a full-time WWE employee. Um, so I suppose, bringing in more celebrities, it's from a business perspective, whether we like it or not, um, an easy thing to do. Not really sure who Cardi B is. Um, Not really my scene. Um, but yeah, I don't hate it. I could live without it. I would prefer it if it was just Jelly Roll being involved and it wasn't Cardi B and we hadn't had the Travis Scott stuff recently, then maybe I wouldn't be as against it. I understand why they're doing it. I'd just rather they didn't.
yeah. I don't mind them doing like, covers of songs and shit like that, or sing if they do if they're using their song for the show and they want to do a quick
An
5 minute
appearance.
set.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
care about that. But when they step into the ring, that's my problem. Maybe
Yeah.
it's because I'm old and I'm an old fart and whatnot, and this is how it's going to be now. But I,
No, I think your point is valid because there's a lot of top wrestlers that we would like to see more of. Um, you know, Karrion Cross is the kind of name on everyone's lips at the minute, but there's others, many others, not just now, but over the years that haven't really had. Dolph Ziggler's another one for as great as career he had, and obviously he's with TNA now. But you think of people like Dolph and like people that are in the WWE locker room now that aren't getting onto shows, whereas some of these celebrities are, and not just as you say to promote their music and do a bit of crossover and a bit of promotion, but actually taking up a spot on a card which is limited with matches. WWE don't have a great deal of matches on the premium live events now, which is a bad thing, to be honest. I quite like that.
yeah,
We get a lot of matches on AEW cards. I don't mind with WWE cards if we got 4, 5, 6 matches. I'm a fan of that, but I'm not a fan of one of those matches being taken up by celebrities in what is generally okay, very like safe, and they've spent a lot of time. They've worked with the experts, and they're competent to do the spots that they've rehearsed so many times. But I would much rather see a Chad Gable match, or so I know Chad's injured.
yeah.
But just an example of somebody that might miss out on a spot on the card that you would much rather see involved.
Yeah, exactly that. Chad Gable injured. El Grande Americano isn't. No.
I heard I was listening to a podcast in the week.
What do you mean you listen to other podcasts? It's the only one you should
Oh,
be listening
yeah, yeah. This is my favorite, obviously. But
to.
I was listening to one, and someone suggested it might have been Luke Owen on Wrestle Talk that when Chad Gable does come back, that he should feud with El Grande Americana.
He probably
Or
will.
they should basically, like, Ludwig should be saying that he's the original Americano, and they face each other, you know. Well, that's quite interesting. I'd quite like to see that.
It'll
But
probably happen.
how far is he off a return? Do we know?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. To be honest, Kevin Owens just undergoing surgery, a successful neck surgery a couple of days ago as well. So we wish him well. Talking about injuries, there is another one that we'll mention later on. It's not an injury; it's a former wrestler that we'll discuss. But talking of injuries, and we'll finish up on this WWE point for now before we move on. Seth Rollins. Now, there's been a lot of back and forth as to whether his injury is legitimate or whether he's pulling the wool over our eyes and he's ultimately going to perhaps CM Punk wins the match against Gunther at SummerSlam and Seth Rollins cashes in. Now, I was a bit on the fence by this. It looked a bad enough injury. He may well have tweaked the injury that he already had. There was, they've shown the replays enough. But what's got me thinking more now that perhaps his injury is maybe not as quite as serious as what he's bringing out to be. For the first time, Becky Lynch, obviously Seth's real wife, away from the WWE, showed her video of him basically walking with his daughter with the crutches on and the knee brace and whatnot. And for me, people can look at that and put this thing to bed and say, no, he's definitely injured. That's all the proof you need. I'm always the biggest person to think the other way around, that you would post that to throw people off the game, perhaps. So, do you think Seth Rollins is not saying not he's not legitimately injured, because obviously there is an injury there, but do you think he's throwing us off the scent that in a couple of weeks' time he's not going to cash in against CM Punk at SummerSlam?
It's a work, 100%. It's a work. I think he may have a minor injury,
Mm,
which isn't necessarily his knee. And they've kind of they're using this just to Seth to have a few wigs. Because if he was fully fit, I don't think they would go to. They're obviously searching for the, a memorable cash in,
mm,
like we've had before from Seth at
yeah.
WrestleMania, which is one of the best ones of all time. But he's not injured. I think some of the reports that have come out have been from pretty reputable sources that this was kind of put together. Um, Also, there was something about Kathy Kelly um, backstage reporting,
Right.
and her headset was actually turned off, and she was reporting back about the injury. So I think a number of things don't really stack up, and it is a work, and that the plan probably was for that SummerSlam cash in. Whether they pivot now and do something a little bit different,
Mm.
because it's been widely reported by so many wrestling journalists that that is the case. They may, um, but I suppose not everybody's like me and you, and the majority of the audience, the fan base, you know, the live attendance, if you like, it would still be a bit of a shock, surprise,
Yeah.
for that clashing, given what's happened. There'd be a percentage of the internet wrestling community that wouldn't, would be expecting it. Um, but yeah, it's not a legit. I mean, it didn't look right, to be honest, when it happened in real time. It
Hmm.
looked a bit exaggerated in terms of LA Knight's reactions and Rollins' reaction when he was walking back as well, and stunk from the get-go. But given the reports that I've read and the people that have reported them, then yeah, it's a work.
We'll wait and see.
Oh,
I
die
might.
on that hill.
I'm going to clip that and I'm going to tag him in it. I'm just writing down a clip note for that. But no, we'll see. Look, it could be legit. If, obviously, like, we're not saying it's not a legitimate injury. We're saying that they're over exaggerating it slightly, and be
Yeah,
back quicker than what we're. I hope that, or even look, regardless, we hope that he is well and on the road to recovery. As you say, the pivot may happen there.
the other thing, Seth's been in an interview. I haven't seen the interview. Again, I think this might have been on Wrestle Talk. They were talking about it. And Seth was kind of saying, well, these things happen. I've been injured before. I'll be injured again. But hopefully I'll be back for Mania. But that's like April. Like that's
Yeah,
a long way away. And I just think if you were legitimately injured, I just don't think you'd be saying that. I
no,
just don't think you'd be saying, yeah, it's looking good. I'll be back for Mania. No.
yeah. True, 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 true. We'll see. We will see. Could say could just be a work. It may be legitimate. We'll find out. I guess we'll find out. But as you say, the pivot could be there. You're very
Yeah.
much correct. Pivot could be there. We'll move on to AEW now. I wanted to read something because I tell you what, as a guy that works on New Japan, he does a lot of work for Revolution Pro Wrestling. So he's a wrestler stroke manager. He was the Great O'Khan's manager, I think, at some point. New Japan, Gideon Gray. And he put something on Twitter today, and X, what do you want to call it? And I instantly read it and I thought, this is like what I would class as sort of, well, the wording was, if you want to be a critic, the praise has to be as loud and as obvious as your critique. And I instantly thought that is just like AEW, isn't it? That they they don't get they get all of the critiques very
Mm.
loudly and abruptly. Attendances, botched things in rep matches and booking and everything like that. But they never get praised enough or as loud enough when they get things right, like All In, barring the a time of the event of 8 hours. But that thing right there just screams AEW, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think if you're a wrestling fan and you can kind of pick holes in the past few weeks, really, the run into All In, the event itself, and even the follow-up. I thought Dynamite was great. Yes, it's in a small venue. Yes, it's a limited capacity. I thought it was awesome. I
Mm.
thought that venue was perfect for AEW. Um, I've heard people say, well, you've done the biggest gate in
Hmm.
America, and then you followed it up with the show with 1,200, 1,500 fans.
Yeah,
One, I was surprised that that's all there was because they sounded,
yeah,
um, a lot more. But I think that's the great thing about these intimate venues. We
yeah,
we were championing this. We were talking about this last year. When they were doing some of these big arenas and there were sections that were blacked out and
yeah,
the product was a little bit cold at the time.
yeah,
Um, and we were talking about WCW and Spring Break and Mall of the Americas and Hammerstein Ballroom. I love these venues. Absolutely. This is one of my favorite actually of all time wrestling venues. The Aragon Ballroom, I think it was called the
yeah,
Aragon.
something like that.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought Hangman's promo to open the show was perfect.
Mm.
Emotional, really, and I love the fact that he's referencing, um, you know, mental health as
Yeah,
well. That's been a huge part of Hangman's um, story and his arc in the company since he's been there from day one. The self-doubt, the anxiety, the drink at times,
yeah.
everything that he's overcome, all the stuff we swerve. I just, yeah, we've really got to applaud a great, great job and a great period of time for AEW. A great 2025, to be honest, when at times in 2024, 2023, things weren't clicking, things went off the rail. There was backstage controversies.
Yeah.
WWE was the hot product. But I think at the minute we get some really good stuff. The in-ring, like we've said so many times, never in question, never in doubt.
No.
They couldn't put a bad match out, to be honest, given the roster that they've got. But the stories have been so good. The character development have been so good. You just think about the people that Hangman listed when he thanked people,
Yeah.
and you're like, all these guys are like top stars in the company. On any given pay-per-view, they could be facing Hangman. Every single name that he mentioned.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Gideon Gray absolutely spot on. At times, we've criticised AEW, the wider community, the wrestling media, um, ex-wrestlers. We get it, totally understand, but you can't criticise them at the minute. They're not doing much wrong, are they?
No, not at all. And you referenced Hangman there. The is it a critique? I don't know. I was kind of surprised that they were continuing Death Riders a little bit with Hangman. I know that they beat up Colt Cabana this week as well, and this coming
Collision.
Wednesday on Dynamite, Hangman's going against Wheeler Utah. I was kind of expecting that to end at All
Yeah.
In and perhaps move to a fresher face come I don't know Forbidden Door. I don't know if the Handman's going to be defending there or not. Obviously, MJF's got this shot whenever he wants as well by winning it. Was you surprised that they kept with the Death Riders, or are you expecting that to cool off in the coming weeks?
No, I was, to be honest, I didn't think we'd see the Death Riders for a while. I
Mm,
thought they might disappear for a few weeks. I liked I liked what they were doing with Moxley on Dynamite. He
mm,
was like hesitant to get in the ring, and he definitely looked
yeah.
like it wasn't himself. And then you had the stare down with Darby as well, where he did like look concerned.
Mm,
But then obviously they did what they did on Collision with Colt. So. who is a long-time friend of Hangman. That's what they were putting over on
Yeah.
commentary. Um, so yeah, kind of, yeah, a little bit surprised because wasn't really expecting us to get Hangman Moxley again anytime soon. I thought we were going to go
No.
straight into Hangman MJF and Moxley Derby. So there's a few ways they can go still. So I'll give him a little bit of time and you know benefit the doubt over that. Um, yeah, Moxley though historically doesn't like having much time off, does he? He doesn't
No.
really. He was pretty much forced to go on honeymoon at one point.
Yeah.
Uh, there's times during COVID where he was the face, wasn't he? He was
Mm.
whenever there was any issues, Moxley had the title,
Yeah.
and he just wanted to be there. So yeah, there's maybe an element of that as well. But yeah, I didn't think we'd see the Death Riders for a few weeks.
No, I didn't either. You mentioned that venue. That's going to be AEW's home for the next at least another 2 more weeks. The residency, isn't it? They call this.
Oh, fantastic.
So it was yeah they said on Dynamite there was the start of 6 shows in a row. So I think they
Yeah.
had Dynamite Collision, they got Dynamite Collision again, and then Dynamite Collision again, and I think they then moved to Chicago for the same kind of 6 shows just
I
at
think
once.
that is Chicago where they were at, that arrogant
Oh,
ball.
oh, is it? Sorry,
Yeah.
bad. Somewhere
Yeah,
else then.
but yeah, and have a residency somewhere else. I
Mm,
mean, I like that idea. We'll see as the weeks go on if the crowd are as good as they were this week, because they were sensational. Now, I understand people that would say, you've done such a good number, you're coming off such a good show, you want to
mm,
sell as many tickets as possible. But I don't know how much that matters because the perception of anybody watching that show was that it was full, it was a lively crowd, the chants were constant throughout
yeah,
the whole episode, and the same on Collision. So yeah, maybe there's an opportunity to sell a few more tickets, but I don't know. I would much rather see AEW thrive in these smaller, more intimate venues on a regular basis than just, during times and there's ups and downs,
yeah,
peaks and troughs. I don't want to see just because they're going through a really good period, oh, we're back in the arenas again.
mm,
There's times to do arenas. All In is one of them.
yeah,
Um, Forbidden Door, the O2, that's,
mhm,
a decent sized venue, not like the size of Wembley Stadium, but, still, they still get the half raft shows. There's, you can vary it and you can mix it up, but I think for the purposes of Dynamite and Collision, I think that ballroom was perfect, perfect selection.
yeah. I just get the feeling sometimes they can't do right for doing wrong. At one minute
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
getting criticized for having like half an arena, and the next minute they're selling out a smaller venue, but oh, it's not got hardly anyone there. Well, where's that happy medium,
Yeah.
right?
And you've just got to give a balanced view. I think that's the issue I take when people just say, no, they're wrong. They shouldn't do that. That's ridiculous. And it's like, well, okay, let's just look at it both. Let's look at both sides of that argument. Yes, there's a potential to sell more tickets, but how good was that venue and how great was that crowd? As
Exactly.
I say, if they're doing, I didn't realize they were doing a residency. So if they're for the next 2 weeks, if the third week that it's really flat and they've kind of outstayed the welcome, because I don't know if I'm sure a number of the fans will be there every week. I know if
Yeah,
I lived in that area, I'd be there.
yeah,
Uh, but you don't know. AEW crowds are always, pretty lively and involved with the show. So if they have 3 solid weeks and 3 solid episodes, then I don't see the problem in that. I don't see how that is something. I don't really see how that's a stick to beat them with. I
no,
think you should just say, yeah, that's great. That's different to what WWE is doing, and that's what we want. We don't want them doing replicating each other and copying each other. We like the two products to be different. For me, that's when wrestling's at its best, when you've got true competition that are finding ways, coming up with clever ways, storylines and different types of matches and different venues to make both shows equally as interesting and entertaining. And so we want to watch both products. We want to watch Raw and we want to watch Dynamite. We want to watch SmackDown and we want to watch Collision. I think that's the best result for wrestling fans.
yeah, I do, and hopefully WWE have learned from their mistakes not to try and put 2 shows up against an AEW pay-per-view.
They
Even
got trounced, didn't they? Which is like I didn't realize that it was such a landslide, to be honest. But Yeah, you kind of there is a feeling of they got their comeuppance there because that counter programming was very deliberate and unnecessary.
Well, funnily enough, they're running Money in the Bank the day after Forbidden Door. Oh no, day before. I can't remember actually.
I
No, it's not
think
Money in the Bank. No, Money in the Bank's been done.
Raw, isn't it?
No,
Raw.
all sorry, next year, all
Oh,
in
okay.
in London next year at Wembley. They're running Money in the Bank that
Oh,
weekend.
are they?
Yeah, next year. So that'd be
They,
interesting.
I think Raw in the UK is the night after Forbidden Door.
Oh, is it up at
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, I won't be going to that. I'll be going to Forbidden Door with you, uh,
Yeah.
which will be good. Just a couple of mentions on injuries. Will Ospreay injured. Don't know time frame yet. That's a potential. He's potentially missing Forbidden Door, and as potentially could be his opponent, Gabe Kidd, who's pulled up in the G1 just this morning with an injury as well. So interesting times. We'll have a look at that as we get closer to Forbidden Door, the one that we'll be attending. I think we're going to be meeting some other podcasts there. I've been doing some talking, and we're going to be saying hello to some other podcasts that
Are
are
they in the Pepsi deck as well?
they're not in the Pepsi deck, my friend. No, they haven't got that
The
privilege that
Pepsi
we have.
deck.
Not in the privilege that we've got. But yeah, we'll see them when we're there. But a good week for AEW. Very good week for AEW indeed. Look forward to seeing what happens this week on Dynamite and Collision. But I think the talk of wrestling this week, certainly from what I've been reading, is another three letters in the world of wrestling, and that being TNA. They're just about to go for Slammiversary. Big thanks to TNA. By the way, Mustafa Ali's interview is in the playlist this week. It's only done 20,000 views, Dave. I don't know.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, that's it. But no, I have a really good interview with Mustafa Ali. But look, TNA opened up more. We're talking about seats. They're going to be pushing sort of 7,500 tonight, which but for them it's huge. AJ Styles returns to TNA tonight for the first time in 12 years. I think the last time he was at a Slammiversary, it was him and Kurt Angle versus Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, if memory serves me right. So 12 years away. Um, TNA also talking about TV deals as well. They're potentially a few months away from being able to announce one. I don't want to sort of say a second brand, third brand, but this is kind of, as a wrestling fan's perspective, Dave, to go from just a WWE to WWE and AEW and Ring of Honor to WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, and TNA for us potentially with a new deal. You can get it on TNA Plus, but with TNA rising up again from the ashes, this is only going to be good for wrestling in general.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that AJ is going back to TNA as well.
Mm.
That's really special. Is he wrestling? I heard he might be wrestling Kazarian.
That's the rumor. Because
Okay.
Kazarian hasn't got an opponent. He come out. He was doing media interviews this week. I got given, as I said, Mustafa Ali. He was doing some other, and he come out and said that he hasn't got a match, basically. So yes, potentially, I've heard that self same rumor.
Yeah, just seeing AJ though in the at Slammiversary, that's great, and that's great that WWE are now open to those type of things. I know there's that
Mm,
working relationship there, but I think even in the past when there's been working relationships, that kind of thing wouldn't necessarily have happened. Particularly a star of AJ's magnitude,
mm,
and the run that he's had in WWE. So I think that's really good. That's good. TNA are on the way back up. Have been for a long time, to be
mm,
honest. You've been talking about TNA for years now, really. And it's just they've consistently just kept growing and getting better and improving, and the cards have been really good. The roster that they've assembled, fantastic. It should be a good show. It should be a good show. But as you said, to your point about good for the wrestling landscape, absolutely, absolutely. The more places that wrestlers can go, getting into the industry, the more opportunities wrestlers can have. I just it's no surprise really, or that we're going through such a boom period in wrestling and have been for a few years, and there's more and more successful wrestling companies, more interest in the products. Yes, there's a bit of tribalism and stuff that
mm.
goes along with it, but mate, we talk about tribalism as if it's something new. I remember when I was in high school and I liked WCW, and there was people that bashed me for like they called it wheelchair wrestling, they called it we can't wrestle. That tribalism has always existed to a degree. But I think, yeah, the more options, the better for us as fans and for all the talent out there that dedicate their lives to it. And if there's more opportunities for them to earn a living from doing what they love, I'm all for it. And yeah, I hope this continues with TNA and it continues to get bigger and bigger. And a new TV deal, and to see them on like a television station over here, and it's not a subscription. I know so many things are going to subscriber based you um sub subscription based models, but the easier it is for people to view it, whether that's Netflix or whatever, then yeah, that's a great thing for everyone.
I've never heard wheelchair wrestling
Then yeah.
before. No, I've
Oh
never heard.
yeah, yeah, wheelchair wrestling. That was one of the big ones. It was people taking the mick out the Goldberg, and not so much Goldberg, it was people like mocking the ages of wrestlers,
Mm.
and they're called
Wheelchair.
cast-offs. And yeah, I remember that, mate. I was what, 14, 15. I'm 38 now, believe it or not. And so an element of tribalism. It's been there for as long as I can remember being a wrestling fan. I think we're just more aware of it now, and we see more of it because of everything's online, and you can
Yep.
just load up Twitter and it's just there. And unfortunately, there's no accountability for idiots just typing away on their keyboards and putting stuff out into the world as gospel when it's just maybe just a thought that's gone through their mind. Or they, and I know I've referenced a couple of a podcasts tonight and just shared some of the opinions there, but I think sometimes people hear opinions and then they just like adopt those opinions, and
Mm.
so that's what I think. And I don't know. I think I think people just need to just try and enjoy the product a bit more, and there's plenty of opportunity to do that.
There is absolutely. Just the last thing on TNA. Tonight, um, potentially, they lose both of their main titles. Well, they've already lost their main title, by the way. Obviously, Trick Williams still holds that tonight, but they do have a Knockouts Championship versus the NXT Women's Championship title for title. Surely, though, Dave, I know they've got the WWE. Surely to God, both of those titles are not ending up in the hands of WWE talent at the end of Slammiversary.
I don't know. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I mean, you would like to think if it was the other way around in WWE, you'd be getting those big feel good moments at the end of the card. But
Mm.
yeah, I suppose we may see the true nature of that relationship tonight, depending on who ends up with the titles. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether I think a lot of people are expecting Joe to be in WWE like full time, aren't they?
Yeah,
Hendry?
so yeah, Hendry bit. My pick Santana. I said Santana's going to win it tonight.
Yeah,
I feel as if they'll do it where the result of the knockouts match for me is going to be key to who walks out of Slammiversary the world champion. That's how I see it.
yeah,
If JC Jane picks up the NXT championship, sorry, the knockout championship with the NXT, I think Santana wins because they're going to go off Slammiversary probably with a feel good. They've got a live impact
mm.
this taping this week. So, and I think that's headlined by Joe Hendry versus Mike Santana, actually, come to think of it. So maybe a championship match that changes to a championship match, perhaps this week.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Because I thought at some point Joe Hendry might get the title back, but again, we don't really know what's going on. Um, we'll see. I would like to think that TNA will just get their TNA feel good moments on
Yeah.
their biggest cards of the year. But we haven't got long to find out.
Only got a few hours. We'll find out. Just touching, I want to move on. I know you don't watch NWA and you have no sort of goings on with the NWA, but we were talking about TNA and new deals. The NWA has a new deal. It does affect international viewers unless you, like me and Thea, can watch it via well, illegal ways that we watch it via a VPN over here. But they're going on to Roku, onto the wrestling channel over there. Now, we were talking of the importance of TV deals and everything else. Something like the NWA, they had one with the CW. We know WWE kind of scuppered that when they brought NXT over. So, them going on to Roku is huge for the NWA. we're talking about free brands. Should we be adding the NWA here as a fourth, or do we sort of see how this Roku wave rides over the next sort of 12 months or so?
I hope so, mate. I mean, I keep kind of, given the fact that you and Fee do such a great job of reviewing it, I try and check out your podcast. And yeah, at times, it has made me really want to watch it, but there's just only so many hours in the week and so many hours of wrestling that I can fit in. I struggle to watch, all of WWE and all of AEW at times. I mean, there was a time not too long ago I was struggling to get WWE watched. But life has got a little bit easier for me. And yeah, again, the more wrestling, the better, the more platforms, the better. My dad's got a Roku stick, so I don't
Doesn't
know if
work in the UK.
doesn't it? So I
No,
don't really know
that
much
was the
about
thing.
Roku.
Yeah, that's the only downside. So it looks like it's landlocked type of deal, but we as I said, me and Fee by uncertain means, i.e. a VPN, good
Yeah,
old Surfshark,
yeah,
have allowed us to log into it that way to see it. So
yeah. But I think if that's a success and the more and more a- acclaim for it and people trying to access it, I mean, it would absolutely make sense for him to branch out into the international markets and get more deals and more increased viewership all around the world for NWA. Yeah, I think that's another positive bit of information coming out this week. Um, yeah, as you say, from a time where we had one company and then, kind of two with TNA and, three with Ring of Honor, but
yeah,
they didn't have um, you know, they couldn't get the eyes on the product that the likes of even NWA are getting now compared to, I don't know what the viewing numbers were for like early Ring of Honor shows compared to like a current day NWA or TNA show, but it just does feel that when it's so much more accessible in the interest there and there's collaborations between different promotions. I mean, we haven't even touched on Japan as
no,
well, or Mexico. These are things that now we just recognize and see guys from CMLL or New Japan, and we're kind of aware of them, and yeah, yeah, might not have watch it week in week out, but you might like we might watch the G1, and there's a number of wrestlers in the G1 just because we've been watching AW and WWE for so long that it just I don't know, it all just seems to merge together nicely, mesh together nicely. I'm still hopeful that one day we get like a wrestling mega show. I know we had a charity event recently, but I'd like to think at some point there would be some kind of potential that we could do that with WWE and AEW. But yeah, we, we can but hope or dream or
we can.
fantasy book as we tend to do.
We can indeed. If you ever watch NWA, Dave, on their X channel, I will point you into the direction of a match called the Mint Julep match
Mm.
between the former artist formerly known as Damien Sandow and Tom Latimer. The word brain fuck and mind fuck comes to mind when you watch that match. So go and if you're going to watch NWA,
Okay,
check that
that's
out.
my homework.
That's your homework.
It's
You might need.
Ram, isn't it? Tom Latimer, you had him on recently, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, we had Latimer on recently, yeah, and yeah, that match it's a cinematic style match. But if you want to watch like a match where I would say, oh, I don't mean this disrespect when I say wrestling, Kobe Carino, Alex Misery. Yes, I'm still in therapy from the Alex Misery interview conducted this week, fully in character, Dave. We haven't done many of those.
Yeah.
Just fuck Jesus. Yeah, that was something else. But a Rich Swan also going to be at NWA 77, the anniversary show in a couple of weeks' time. That will so that's another good pickup for NWA. But look, we're gonna start to pivot back to WWE. But before we do, we need to send a message of support and love to someone that's been on the show in the past. We had a great, myself and you both had a great interview with him. It was the man they call Buff Bagwell. Recently had to have his leg amputated. You've seen all the pictures on social media. Dave, look, it was a great interview for us. We had a great time with him. But other than that, he was a fantastic wrestler back when we were growing up through those Attitude Era moments and everything else. And it is a real shame to see, a wrestler having to go through that, especially, people go through it all the time, but there's ones that we kind of attach to because, as I said, we've kind of known them for as long as we've kind of known, growing up and everything. So
Yeah.
it's a shame for Buff, and we just we send him love and support and prayers and everything else.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, going back to when we had him on the show, he was just such a nice guy. So kind of, I don't know, just we had a really long chat with him, didn't we? I mean,
Mm,
I'm sure we did like an hour and a half with him.
yeah, we did.
Um, and he was just so accommodating, so generous with his time. Or perhaps because obviously the Buff Bagwell character at times, particularly when he was in the NWO, was quite brash and cocky and arrogant. And sometimes, wrestlers, some of the best characters and the best wrestlers are extensions of their own personality. So I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but it was such a surreal experience, sitting there talking to us. As you say, it's come commonplace now. We've been fortunate enough to interview a lot of wrestlers, yourself, hundreds now. But it's still very, very special and very, very surreal. And Buff was very, very great. He was great with us. And I'd like to add to your well wishes. I hope that he's recovering well. Um, I think perhaps given what I've read and what he mentioned to us at the time as well, I don't know if it was on air or off air, but the ordeal he'd had since the crash in 2020 and the
Mm,
complications. And I think from what I've understand, he just didn't want to live with that pain anymore. And
mm,
this was the lesser of two evils, if you like.
yeah.
So huge huge courage as well to kind of go into and have that procedure done. I can't imagine what it must feel like the night before, knowing that you're going to have your leg amputated the next day. But hopefully, it does improve his quality of life, and hopefully, he does more and more podcasts, and he's still involved with the world of wrestling. I know he's got his own YouTube channel, and like we were talking about the opportunities for wrestlers. Because of the how well different
Mm,
promotions are doing. That also means if there's more interest in the product, there's more interest in conventions where
yep.
some of these legends and retired wrestlers can go out and meet the fans and sell some of their merch, and you can pay to get pictures with them and sign autographs. Not all of the wrestlers, they used to make the money that modern day WWE and AEW top stars do. So um, yeah, we've it's a whole different topic of autographs and signings and
Mm.
stuff like that. But I think the conventions are a great thing for legends and ex-wrestlers and personalities. So hopefully Buff can still do plenty of those moving forward, and hopefully one day we'll get him back on the show.
Yep, and he's always going to be Buff for the stuff, and the girls can't get enough from him. That's for sure. So, well wishes to Buff Bagwell. Finally, we're going to wrap up the week on WWE with, the week in wrestling, not the week on WWE, the week in wrestling with WWE. John Cena, Cody Rhodes signing somewhat their contract for SummerSlam. It's going to be a street fight, which I would imagine is going to main event night two of SummerSlam. I would have thought, but Dave, to be quite honest, I could give zero fucks about this. I can now envisage it already. It's going to be overbooked. There's going to be
Yeah.
probably a load of ref bumps in this. The only interesting point, and someone did post this out on X, and they said it maybe they were reaching a bit far here. This week on WWE, Cody Rhodes was wearing the glasses that The Rock wore on the Raw, and the watch I think that The Rock gave him. Apart from that, I don't really want to see the match. The only reason, well, there'd be two reasons. One, I've got to review the fucking thing on here, and two, being potential double turn in this
Mhm.
match. Could Cody Rhodes align himself with the final boss here, and could we see the return of a face John Cena to finish off his retirement?
Yeah, I think we spoke about it a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, about a potential double turn. Um, I think that is huge potential. I think a Cody heel run is much more interesting to me than how this Cena heel run has played out. there's been moments when I've enjoyed it. There's been certain matches that have been okay. I kind of don't blame them for giving it a go, but like we've said before, it was kind of doomed from the offset
Mm,
with The Rock's kind of involvement or lack of involvement at
yeah,
times. So, yeah, I think we'll get a double turn of sorts. I think Cody walks out with the title. I think Cena is definitely kind of gonna have his last few months in the WWE as a baby face. How that manifests and how that comes about, not 100% sure. I am interested in that. I'll be watching the street fight. I'll be watching SummerSlam and hoping it can perform like every wrestling show I ever watch. Who wants to
mm,
watch rubbish? Who wants to watch something that you're not going to enjoy? So I've got high hopes for SummerSlam, given the fact that it's the first two-night event as well.
yeah,
I think WWE will be pulling out all the stops. There will be a bit too much in terms of advertising and marketing and sponsorships and celebrity
yeah.
involvement, but I can accept that if we get some real good action, some good matches, some good stories, and hopefully, even if we're not too happy of how we got there. We come out of SummerSlam really intrigued and looking forward to the fallout on Raw and SmackDown, depending on what happens in that main event.
Indeed, SummerSlam literally 2 weeks away. Hardly anything announced, really. Just a couple of matches at the minute for the two-night extravaganza hosted by Cardi B. Anyway,
But
but
we're going to get Priest and Aleister Black, I think.
potentially, yeah, that's in the works. That might be something to look forward to in that one. I know we're going to be getting Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton as
Yeah,
well because Naomi cashed in at Evolution on Raw on the Raw
yeah,
side. So we're going
yeah.
to
I
be.
like that as well. That was a bit of a misdirect because I think everyone
Mm,
expected Naomi to go after Jade. So yeah, I think Naomi, by the way, doing some of her best work.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this character, and she's always been, you know, talented and athletic, and plenty of charisma and a great performer. But I think she's showing now just how good she really is, and the lessons that she's learnt over the years, the career that she's had. I think she's pulled it all together into this, you know, proceed with caution character. I'm really enjoying every time she comes on the screen. I'm kind of glued to it. So yeah, I think she has been a real story for WWE in 2025.
yep, she certainly has. Maybe we should start calling you David. Proceed with caution, Robinson. Um, well, I don't know. Um, but we're going to wrap it up there. But before that, I just want to say, we're a week removed from the chaos that was Breaking Point at Ignite Wrestling last week. Jesus, there's so much happened in that. Congratulations, Aluna. You retained your first defense of our championship. But your opponent's going to be announced tomorrow. I have it all signed, sealed, delivered. It's ours. So that'll be announced tomorrow night. Get ready, Luna, because you're going to be facing another stiff test this week, this time. Buckle up. September the 21st. Jesus, I nearly got the wrong day. September the 21st. Tickets are already on sale and about half gone already. It's a week since the event last time. I think Buckle Up's just getting that reputation, Dave, of we need to get a ticket kind of thing.
Absolutely, my birthday weekend as well this year. So
What better way to spend your
what
birthday?
a better way to turn 39 than down in Boreham Wood with you guys.
Baron Bourne Wood, indeed, indeed, indeed. Coming up on the channel this week, we're sitting down with an NWA territory, Crossfire Wrestling. Tommy Henry, the father of two of the most well women that Dave you may not be aware of, but you will be aware of in the future, Kenzie and Kylie Page, and they're kind of the promoter of Crossfire Wrestling, so that will be joining us this week. So looking forward to that. But Dave, it's been a pleasure seeing you again. Enjoy your holidays that you're going on.
You know,
Very well deserved as always. I'll probably be with Gary Joe next week to do AEW. But yeah, tune in for that. All of the usual stuff. Chat GPT drops tomorrow. I can't remember the one I've sent out for you guys tomorrow to watch, but watch that. And then I'll be reviewing Slammiversary tomorrow night. I'll be doing that. I'll be watching Slammiversary with bated breath to a bit later on this evening, and I can't wait to see the return of the phenomenal AJ Styles. I'll be doing that as my phone just pings from TNA, funnily enough. Need to respond to that in a minute. But yeah, that's all good. But look, don't forget to follow us, HTT Buckle on X, HTT Buckle on YouTube, Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on all other social media outlets. We'll be back next week. But until then, he has been the problem child, Dave Robinson. I'll proceed with caution. Robinson, I've been your host, Adam Cousins, and you've been watching the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. And until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.